The next topic is stages of lexis in speech production. Speech production is the process by which thoughts are translated into speech. This includes three stages: selection of words that need to be conveyed, the organization of relevant grammatical forms, and the third is the articulation. So you have selection of words, organization of relevant grammatical forms, and the articulation process. People, being social creatures, produce speech all the time. When they are talking or producing speech, they are not aware of how the speech is produced in terms of the participation of mind and body into this process. The speech production has a specific stages and also a time frame. Starting from an infant's first babbling, you move on to age 1, which is a stage where you do not have complete speech process that begins from there. From age 1, you see a child making short sentences from 1.5 to 2.5. It's also known as the telegraphic phase. From 2.5 to 3.5, you see a system of lemma that is being developed. And after 4 to 5, a child is able to produce grammatically correct sentences. We will now move on to different stages of speech production. Now there are 4 stages, as you can see, of speech production. Conceptualization is the first, formulation, articulation, and also self-monitoring. Conceptualization. Now this is a stage when a speaker spontaneously thinks of what he or she is going to say. It is an immediate reaction to external stimuli and is often based on prior knowledge of a particular subject. So this is a spontaneous stage and it is an immediate reaction when you respond to any external stimuli. No premeditation goes into these words since it is a spontaneous response, and they are all formulated based on the speaker's knowledge and experience. Speaker's knowledge and experience. These two things work at the back of your response. It is therefore referred to as spontaneous speech. Examples of this can range from asking questions to immediate verbiage produced as a result of just stubbing toe, for example, and you can say somebody asks you, "How are you?" Your immediate response without considering and pondering to think is a very natural. Maybe you can say fine, not good, okay. So these are the spontaneous responses. Second is the formulation. This is when the speaker thinks of the particular words that are going to express their thoughts. So here you require deliberation. Since a process is involved where speaker has to think and come up with particular words, so speaker is deliberating. It occurs almost simultaneously with the conceptualization stage as well. However, this time the speaker thinks about the response before responding. Here, before responding, the speaker is not deliberating, but although conceptualization is involved at this stage, but the respondent or the speaker needs to think before he or she needs to respond. Now, in the process of formulating, the speaker is deciding how best to reply to the external stimuli. Where conceptualization is more of an instant and immediate response, formulation is a little delayed response. Stage 3 is the articulation. This is when the speaker physically says what he or she has thought of saying. Now this is when the speaker is to decide physically. This is prepared speech or planned word age. So here you need planning. Planning of a speech. In addition, the words may have been rehearsed, such as when someone practices a presentation or rehearse a speech. It involves the training of physical actions of several motor speech organs, such as lungs, larynx, tongue, lips, and other vocal apparatuses. So, of course, the first two stages also involve these organs, but the articulation stage uses these organs multiple times for the same word pattern. So the practice of these different organs are required for the correct articulation of your speech. Fourth stage is the self-monitoring stage. Now this is when the speaker reflects on what he or she has said and makes an effort to correct any error in his or her speech. So reflection is done, based on which correction is done. This is what self-monitoring is, that after listening to one's own speech, one does the reflection and correction is brought about. Oftentimes this is done in a rebuttal or last word argument. In addition, it could also be done during a conversation when the speaker realizes that he or she just slips up or his or her views are not properly understood by the recipient. So during a conversation, the speaker can still make a correction in his or her conversation, reflecting on what one has to talk about or one has to say, and making sure that what he or she has said is what it is actually intended to be conveyed. To conclude, the development of speech production throughout an individual's life starts from an infant's first babble and is transformed into fully developed speech by the age of 5.